Hey family, welcome back to the Live Fancy podcast entitled Think Fancy, a place where we discuss concepts, ideas, perspectives, and insights that will cause you to truly think fancy, to make the mental choice to foster achievement, never compromising you. I believe there is greatness on the inside of you, and I am committed to helping you release it. Why? Because someone is waiting for you. Welcome back. I am so excited to be back with season 4 of Think Fancy. Season 3 started off great, and then what happened? Life hit hard, and we went on a break. But I'm so excited that now in January of 2024, we are starting up season 4 of Think Fancy. And I am confident and I truly believe there is so much that we're going to be able to accomplish together as we go through this journey. And I'm excited to tell you the theme and the topic of this whole season. And well, I don't want to give it away. You'll hear it in the first episode. So all I really want to say is welcome back. So here we are, episode 1 of season 4 of Think Fancy. And this one truly embodies everything that I think we will discuss the rest of this season, simply because the things that I experienced in the latter part of last year have truly prepared me for this mindset that I have in 2024. And I truly believe it's something that we all can grab a hold of and truly accomplish the things that we have set out to accomplish, and especially releasing greatness this year. So today's episode is entitled Embrace Change. I'm going to say it again. Embrace change. Now, that sounds so like, yeah, I'm going to embrace change. But the reality is that there are some mindsets and things that we have to get in place and get prepared for in order to do that successfully. I truly believe. So we're going to talk about those a bit. Just to give you a little context on where this came from. So at the end of 2023, I went through a lot of different experiences where things started to change. I can honestly say that actually happened earlier in the year, but it really began to hit near the end of the year because they seemed to all culminate at one. There were some changes in my family. There were some changes in my home life. There were some changes in my work life. There were some changes in my church life. There were some changes in my school life. There were changes in my body. Like everything was changing. And I got to a point where it was like, hello, hello, I'm raising my hand. I'm putting up the Baptist finger. One moment, please. Because I was like, what is actually happening? And I fought it. I was like, I need something to stay the same. And so I was doing so many different things to try to find that place where something was the same. But what the Lord began to show to me, and what I hope to share to you or with you throughout this episode, is change is necessary. And so we have to learn to embrace it instead of fighting it, because the reality is you can't stop it. You may not like the way that it's happening. And yes, there are some things that we may be able to influence or be able to respond to differently, but change is going to happen. And so the thing that I want us to first off, just as we're beginning out this season, is to understand, number one, as we consider embracing change, the reality is change is already happening. In everything that you are trying to do to stop change or to fight change, naturally, change consistently happens all around you. It happens in our lives, even when we're not paying attention to it. You might realize your music taste changed. Maybe you used to like a particular artist or a particular band, and after a while, it's not that you don't like them anymore, but you're not drawn to them anymore. I know from my own self, I used to be drawn to a particular group, and everything was them. Like every version of a song, I looked to see if they had one, or every rendition, or what did they add to it, or what have they put out that's new. And I just consistently kept going back and back to them. And then it's not like I didn't listen to other artists, but this particular artist was kind of top of my list. And then slowly it began to shift. I began to listen to other artists more, and I actually desired less to hear from those particular artists. I still liked them, but I didn't want to hear from them as much. My music taste changed. Is that a bad thing? No. As we continue to grow, if nothing else, you change ages every year. And as you go through those ages, even just from a natural standpoint of getting older, certain things that you used to do or used to like that when you were younger, you're not going to do and you're not going to like them anymore. And that's normal. The reality is change is already happening. Another example, clothing styles. Recently, as I've talked about this in season 2 and 3, and that is learning to embrace where you are, like from a body standpoint. I mentioned many times my weight journey and how I was one size and then I was a different size, and going through that whole experience and then finally getting to a point to say, I'm beautiful right where I am. And yes, I still want to, adjust, and I want to lose a bit of weight, one, to be healthy, and two, just to, shape up a bit. But I'm beautiful right now, and to stop beating myself up for where I was or where I am. And therefore, my clothing styles changed. And at first I thought it was just sizes. But then as I began to, purchase different things that would make me feel more comfortable in my own skin, I realized I don't even like the style I used to have. The clothes that I used to have in my closet, I'm looking at them like, why is this in here? Who bought this? This doesn't even look like me. And so it's just a reality that things are changing. And we can go on, and I'm sure you can even think in your own life of different scenarios or different circumstances where things have changed, and it wasn't something that you initiated on your own or intentionally, but things change. And so what we have to come to grips with is the fact that change will happen no matter how much we want things to stay the same. And the more we understand that change is inevitable and necessary, the more we'll be able to accept that, embrace that, and even prepare for that. So let's talk about that a little bit. As always, I'm into dictionary words. If this is your first time, this is your first season here, listen, I love words. And I've come to realize that many times we hear words and we hear them in context over time, but we actually don't understand the power and the depth of words. So every episode, you're always going to hear me looking up a definition, because I think it just adds so much color to the words that we use every single day. So in that same vein, let's look at how the Collins Dictionary talks about embracing change. It says in the Collins Dictionary that if you embrace a change, political system, or idea, you accept it and start supporting it or believing in it. So let's say that again. If you embrace a change, you accept it and start supporting it or believing in it. And that's really powerful, because it's understanding the embracing of change. And that means that you come to grips with it. It means that you accept that this change is happening, and I'm actually going to jump on board to start supporting what's required for that change. And I'm going to start believing in the necessity of that change, or believing in that change being for my good. So let's look at what it means to embrace. And in the Collins Dictionary, it defines embraced as to accept an opportunity, challenge, etc., willingly or eagerly. Again, embracing or to embrace means to accept willingly or eagerly. Now, depending on where you are in the spectrum of change, eagerly may not be as easy, but willingly is easier to do than to fight it. What do I mean by that? We don't always like change. A lot of people are creatures of habit. And so the idea of change is either scary or uncomfortable. But again, when we're talking about embracing change, it means that I'm accepting that this change is happening. I'm accepting that this change is inevitable, and I'm doing so willingly. I'm choosing not to fight it anymore. I'm choosing not to grit my teeth about it anymore. Sometimes it's willingly. Sometimes, again, we want to get to a place where it's eagerly, right? We want to get to a place where it's where we can say, okay, I'm excited about this change. And that may take time, but the ultimate goal is to embrace, to accept change in our life, changes in our circumstances. Change has to happen. The way that we can get to this place of embracing change, whatever it might be, is to understand that on the other side of change is greatness. On the other side of change is growth. On the other side of change is good. And many times the reason that we fight change, that we are uncomfortable in change, is because we don't understand. We don't know. It's like I've heard it said, it's the devil you know. Why do people stay in bad situations? Why do people stay in bad relationships? Why do people allow bad things that they know are bad for them to continue to go on? Because sometimes it's the bad that you know. And I know this is bad, but I know what this bad is like. I know how to navigate this bad. I know how to get over this bad. I know how to, deal with this bad. And I know it's bad. So therefore, at least it's comfortable because I know it. But the reality is, you don't want to get to a place where bad becomes normal, unhealthy becomes normal, dysfunction becomes normal. That's not the way we were designed. That's not the way we were created. And that's not what was promised to us. We were promised good, not bad. We were promised from a God who knows our end. And he says, I know the plans that I have for you, and they're plans to do you good and not harm, to prosper you and to bring you to an expected end. So that means that we have to begin to embrace the idea that change is good, that this change is going to make me better, even if it's uncomfortable. We have to be able to say, okay, how or what do I need to do to embrace, to accept this change, to be able to start supporting this change, to start believing in this change? Now, I looked up embracing change, and I saw this great article by Courtney Harris Coaching talking about how to embrace change. And I wanted to share something with you. And it says, when you're going through a change, one of the ways that you can embrace that change successfully is to separate yourself from the experience. Now, before I read on into that, I want to talk about the context of that. Sometimes change is extremely uncomfortable. It is shifting and rearranging your whole being. Sometimes change comes and it has a negative connotation. For myself, I had to deal with being an empty nester. I had to deal with the fact that my daughter has grown up and she is living her life like it's golden. And although we still continue to have a wonderful relationship, we still see each other on a consistent basis. We talk just about every day. Not having her in my home was a change. And it was one that I really had to learn how to accept and start supporting. Because if I didn't learn to do that, I would create an atmosphere that would actually give me the opposite of what I was hoping for. My greatest desire is for her to be successful in all that she does, living out her purpose and being happy in the process. And I want to do whatever I can as a mother to help her to do that. Well, the only way that I could do that was to embrace that change, was to start supporting that change and accepting that change. And so I had to learn to separate myself from the experience. I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. Let me finish reading what they said. So once again, separate yourself from the experience. You are not defined by one change. You are a whole person with vast and diverse experiences. Yes, life changes can impact you greatly, and you get to decide what each transition will mean for you. If it feels supportive, give yourself a gentle mental reminder of your wholeness. For example, using the phrase, I am not this experience. Now, for the example that I gave you with my daughter, I had to realize that, number one, that change did impact me. It was a change in my everyday. No longer was I waking up and knowing that my daughter was in the other room. No more was she coming down the stairs and we were going to have breakfast together or have our late night chats or whatever it was. We weren't going to have dinner together. We weren't going to do the things that I come accustomed to doing. So it impacted me because my life had changed. But I had the ability to decide what that transition meant for me. I had the ability to decide if it meant that my life has changed for the bad, or if it meant here is an opportunity for me to love on and support my daughter in a new way. And here is a way for me to continue to grow and to embrace what life has for me in this season. I had to separate myself from the experience. I had to remind myself, she didn't leave because I'm a bad mother. She didn't leave because we were arguing. She didn't leave because she didn't like me. She didn't leave because she didn't want to be around me. She left because she's growing up. And she left because she's an adult. She left because she wanted to begin to start her life as an adult. And the good thing is that she still wants me in it. So it's a good change. But I had to come to grips with that. And so I'm using that as an example so that I'm hoping you can find a way to relate to that in whatever the change is going on that you're experiencing or that may be coming up in this new year. As we enter into 2024 and we go into all of the different things in this month, even of January, where we have maybe set forth New Year's resolutions or goals or desires that we plan to accomplish and things of that nature, we have to understand that change is required and change is inevitable. There is no way that you should be the same person or in the same way, same mindset by the end of this year that you are in right now. It has to change. And you have the opportunity and you have the ability to make a decision on how you're going to embrace that change and what that change and transition will mean for you. One more thing that they said, focus on resilience. Courtney Harris Coaching goes on to say, each change will bring with it some level of discomfort. As you meet this discomfort and learn new parts of yourself, you are getting stronger and wiser. So in understanding that you have the ability to get stronger, you have the ability to get wiser, but also understand you have the ability to allow it to make you feel weaker and to feel less wise or unwise, if you will. It's a decision. If you take it as a learning experience to learn more about yourself, to see what you've overcome so far and how you can use those same tools and those same experiences to be better in the future, you learn new parts of yourself and you realize how awesome you already are and how you can bring that awesomeness into this new season. It's going to be uncomfortable sometimes, but you can make it. Look how far you've come. Let's take a few seconds and let's talk about where you are today. You have made it to 2024. Regardless of your age and how many of those years you have lived, you've made it this far. You've had some bumps and bruises along the way. Let's be honest. And some of them, you thought they were going to take you all the way out, but you're still here. You had some challenges that came about that you did not know how you were going to make it through, but you're still here. You had some circumstances and situations that you had to step up to accomplish them. You had to step into them with boldness. You had to go forward confidently, and you did it. Even if it didn't turn out the way you originally thought, that experience has made you greater, stronger, wiser. You made it. So the biggest thing that I hope that you take with this and from this is that no matter the change, you have already accomplished so much. You can step into this with greatness. You can step into this knowing that you have everything that you need to accomplish, to go through it, to be awesome in it, to excel through it. You can do this. Accept this change. Start supporting this change. Start believing in this change. Because this change is necessary. Why? Because someone is waiting for you. I truly hope you are charged up as a result of this week's episode of Think Fancy. You have too much on the inside of you to just listen, so now you are empowered to do. You are indeed well able, fully capable, and properly equipped to do everything you were created and designed to do. Make this week a great one.